Sports law is a very popular topic, and a lot of current law students want to get into it and don't really know how or what it actually, in some cases, not even sure what exactly sports law entails. So you're heavily involved, I know, with the ABA Forum on the Entertainment and Sports Industries, and you obviously you have your blog that you mentioned, and you do a lot of writing and podcasting. So can you kind of give some starting points to law students that might be interested, or even practicing attorneys that might be interested in expanding into a field they might be more passionate about in sports
Yeah.
law? Can you kind of give some insights into that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so just to kind of start at the beginning there, sports law, what is it? To me, it's wherever the sports industry intersects with the law. So really it covers almost the full gamut of other kinds of law. It just has how it applies to quote unquote sports clients, whether that's corporations, teams, leagues, athletes, you name it. I mean, it kind of goes across the board. So it's definitely broader than I think many people think it is. I think when people like originally think like, oh, sports law, that means like being general counsel of a team or working in a league office or something like that. And I think it's broader than that. There's a lot more going on when you really kind of dig in. There's a lot of different areas. So that being said, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity to get involved in different aspects of it. I will say, I think it is extraordinarily competitive. Jobs that are posted regularly get, hundreds, maybe even thousands of applications because people love it and they want to do something that they love. And, but on the flip side of that, it's also a very small world. Being kind of connected into the industry, you'll find that the people that are really, they like to hire within themselves. They, if you start going to the events or being involved in these various groups, you'll start seeing the same people over and over that are really the ones that are maybe not just want to do it, but are passionate about it. I think there's a difference there. I get a ton. I mean, I literally get emails or calls every week from people saying, well, how can I break in, or what should I be doing? And I have a lot of tips, but I think that the first thing is you have to be really dedicated to wanting to do it. And then the first tip that I give after that is really make yourself an expert in what it is that you do. So like I said, like any part of the law applied to the sports industry is, so if you can make yourself really good at that area of law, even if it's not while working in the sports industry or doing quote unquote sports law, you're going to be very marketable to that, job that opens up that is looking for someone with your skill set. So that's literally the exact path that I took, right? I went in and worked at a firm, got the experience, and then when an opportunity arose, I was able to transition into a role that had more sports work. So that's one of the things that I say. And then obviously, and I've kind of alluded to this already, the network issue is a huge deal. There's a lot of great networking opportunities. So like you said, I'm the vice chair of the American Bar Association sports division. And we have 2 to 3, depending if you count video games as one of them, but 2 conferences every year that go on. We just had one in Miami, and then the big one is this fall in Las Vegas. It's a sport and entertainment law conference. Those are great opportunities to go to meet people face to face. There's many of the biggest people in the industry go to these either as speakers or as attendees. And then another fantastic group, which I'm also involved in, is the Sports Lawyers Association, which is the most established group in this field. And they have an event in May. This year it's in Denver. It's a 3-day conference. And it's really like the who's who of sports law. Everyone is very friendly. They're open to networking. I mean, get there, do it. And then in every region, there's also events, SLA and now ABA too, does these outreach events in big cities, which are like, a panel or something and networking. And then, I've noticed there's also many local bar organizations that do similar things. And, I think another big advantage of being part of these groups are that you get access to their members' information and other people that are interested. So I can literally go on the SLA's website, put in Nashville, and see the other 10 or 15 people that are SLA members in my area and have their emails and phone numbers. And I have zero shame of just emailing them, be like, hey, I'm interested in sports law. Like, I know you work here or you do it too. Like, would you just want to meet up for coffee sometime so I can introduce myself and get on their radar? And, you know, like I said, it's kind of a small world. So you're going to be seeing these people again and again, and there may be ways that you can help them out later or they can help you out. So it's good to just kind of put a face to the name and really get out there and meet them. So, I mean, I would suggest really doing your best you can to network in the industry and not only do like the initial meet, but really like learn. I can't have said this enough for young lawyers, 'cause it's something that I was terrible at that I'm hopefully getting better at, is to really learn how to network, and not only that first interaction, but really make sure that you're following up with people, that you're trying to, you know, keep them in mind for things that you might be involved in, or make sure that, you know, you're on their radar so they're keeping you in mind too. I can't tell you how many jobs in sports law go unposted completely, and they're just filled by people in other people's networks. And what I've seen happen is, for example, like GCO sports teams will reach out to people that they know and be like, hey, do you have any like really good candidates? Like, I'm looking for someone with like 3 to 5 years experience. Like, I just don't want to sift through 1,000 resumes. Like, do you have people that you might know that would be interested? And their network. And so like, even if you don't know that person, you may know someone in their network, and you may have a chance to get in on a job opening that's very limited in the number of applicants for it. So I can't emphasize enough in a hot, quote unquote, hot industry like sports law, that you really focus on networking.
So you mentioned some great advice, first of all, in terms of the associations, networking. It's basically who you know a lot of times. But for maybe people that don't know where to go to find resources for like the latest news, or like for instance, in the entertainment industry, I can immediately think of the Hollywood Reporter. They have a THR Esquire section that is always posting insights and exclusive kind of not leaks, but kind of just deal terms and that kind of stuff that you wouldn't normally hear about otherwise. So on the sports law section or the sports law side of the industry, can you kind of give some resources, I guess, in addition to your own blog and podcast, of some places that people can go for that kind of information just to stay abreast of issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the number one resource that I use is Twitter. There's a big sports law community on Twitter. And there's tons of people out there. Michael McCann is one of the most popular. My law school sports law professor, Andrew Brandt, is a good one. The sports law blog, Warren Zola, Gabe Feldman, my podcast co-host, Daniel Wallach. Those are all great people on Twitter, and I'm missing a ton, so I apologize if people are listening. And as far as websites go, the sort of grandfather, the one that's been around and it's fantastic and it always has been, is the sports law blog. And it has a bunch of various sports law writers on it. Michael McCann, as I mentioned before, writes for SI. He does great work. My blog, thewhitebronco.com, has a lot of various resources on it. There's a group of attorneys that graduated from Tulane who run one called the Sports Esquires, which is a fantastic resource. Particularly a guy named Ian Gunn, who does every week he puts out sports law links, which is just links to the top sports law stories from the past week, which is a really good way to kind of keep abreast of the most popular issues going on. And then in addition to that, like the SLA has some document databases and things like that. I don't use that too frequently because I've just have my own that I've built up over time. But there's plenty of that out there, and there's plenty of opportunities and other blogs and podcasts to keep track of. And sort of another tip that, and I'm transitioning now, but another tip that I like to say, especially for folks who are maybe outside of the sports legal industry, either whether they're young lawyers or law students, but really try to write. It's such a way to show your knowledge, and write good stuff. I'm of the opinion that law students, young lawyers are all very, very smart, and they when they put their mind to it, they can do that. And find resources that'll publish you. I know a lot of these blogs will do that. They're looking for content. They're looking for people to come in and write good stuff. It's a great way to show that you have a high level of knowledge about a topic that maybe you're not working in. So when you're applying for that sports law job, they can look at your resume and say, well, he has all the soft skills of working in contracts at this law firm, and he's written about these sports law issues, so he knows about the sports law industry, even if they haven't directly worked in there. I think that's super important and really shows a commitment and passion to wanting to work in the industry.
That makes perfect sense too. I mean, because if you're breaking into an industry, you kind of have to have some, at least, I guess, foot in the door to be able to talk about something. So writing and having the network connections obviously are two great starting points. You mentioned this briefly. You mentioned video games. So can you, like, I guess in a very short, because I don't want to derail this entire conversation too much, but esports and sports, can you kind of talk about the difference from your perspective on whether somebody like you would be willing or able to take on a client that is in the esports arena rather than the traditional, I say traditional sports sector?
I mean, I think that the esports world, first off, it's I think it's a really great place for younger lawyers to get involved in, because I think a lot of us old ones, I'm including myself, are like, it's kind of over their head. Like, this is a new technology, this is a new phenomenon. Like, I don't totally get it. Like, and I do now, but I was at a point where I was like, is this really a thing? You know? And I've seen a handful of young lawyers like really scoop in and that know the industry, that know the legal issues, that can come in and really capitalize it and really build a practice around it. I don't think it really differs that much from sports in the sense that as long as you can learn the industry, the legal work is very similar. There's definitely some different compliance issues, and there's sort of this betting angle that's a little hazy right now. But you know, at the core of it, you have to have these like core legal knowledge of how to negotiate contracts or venue agreements or whatever it may be in the industry. And those are really not dissimilar from the traditional quote unquote sports space.